Thank you. Chair, before you is Resolution 23-216, and we're asking Nālani Fujihara from the Office of Council Services, the Hawaiian Language Communications Specialist, to assist us with this resolution.
Close to the mic.
Okay. Ka ho'olale ana I ke kia'aina e ho'omau I ke kumukanawai o ka moku'aina o Hawai'i nei, me ke kanawai o ka moku'aina ma o ka ho'i koke ana ia Marvin Kaleo Manuel I ke kulana hope mua no ka papa komikina wai.
And this is the title of the resolution in English, urging the governor to uphold the Constitution of the State of Hawaii and the State Water Code by immediately reinstating Marvin Kaleo Manuel as First Deputy for the Commission on Water Resources Management.
Member Rawlins-Fernandez.
Mahalo, Chair. I move to adopt Resolution 23-216, including any non-substantive revisions under Rule 19D of the Rules of the Council.
Second.
Moved by Member Rawlins-Fernandez, seconded by Member Johnson, to adopt Resolution 23-216 and waive the rules of the council. What is it, 19.6?
19D.
19D. Discussion. Member Rawlins-Fernandez.
And it's not waiving it, it's invoking it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Chair, this is the first resolution in Ōlelo Hawai'i in its entirety. It's more than just symbolic. Mr. Manuel is fluent in Ōlelo Hawai'i, and I wanted us to extend our gratitude to him to the fullest way possible. And communicating this in our Ōlelo Okia'aina is one way. We heard hours of testimony last Wednesday at the West End from Kumu and Haumana asking to support education grounded in a Hawaiian worldview and values taught in our language. Our governor and our government and community must then follow up the education with meaningful jobs after these Haumana graduate. Ms. Fujihara, born and raised here in Maui, returned from college, was one of the applicants for this Hawaiian Language Communications Specialist position this council established. This was a budget priority of mine. I spearheaded and received unanimous support from you all about 3 years ago. So in honor of this being our first resolution in Ōlelo Hawai'i, may I request that our Hawaiian Language Communication Specialist, Nālani Fujihara, read the resolution in its entirety.
Ms. Fujihara.
Ōlelo ho'oholo, halu iwa kalua kumakolu, e lua haneli umikomaono. Ka ho'olale ana I ke kia'aina e ho'omau I ke kumukanawai o ka moku'aina o Hawai'i nei, a me ke kanawai o ka moku'aina ma o ka ho'i koke ana ia Marvin Kaleo Manuel I ke kulana hope mua no ka papa komikina wai. Oiai he kule ana ko ka moku'aina, oia no ke kule ana e ho'omalu, e ho'oholo, a e mālama I ka ho'ohana ana I ka wai o Hawai'i nei, no ka pono o ko lākou mau kanaka. He ōlelo ke nā o ke kumukana wai o ka moku'aina o Hawai'i. A oiai malalo ka pauku umi kumakahi, mahale e hiku o ke kumukana wai o ka moku'aina, e ho'o lako ka aha ōlelo kaukana wai I nā mea lako no ke kahi hui wai. Malama ia e ke kana wai, e ho'o maluo I ka wai ke ano a me nā kulekele ho'ohana, wehe I nā mea wai a me nā kumu no ka ho'ohana ana, ho'o malu I ka wai honua a me ka wai ili, nā aina kumu wai a me nā kaha wai kūlohe. Ho'o kumu I nā loina no nā maka koho, ho'ohana wai, oiai ka ho'o malu, ho'o mau ana I nā mea e pono ai, a ho'o kumu I nā loina no ka ho'o holo ana I ka wai o Hawai'i nei. A oiai I ka makahiki, umi kumaiwa kana walu kumahiku, ua ho'o holo ka aho lelo kau kana wai o ko Hawai'i moku'aina, I ke kana wai o ka moku'aina, I ka mokuna ho'okahi haneli umi kuma kana hiku kumaha kalamai, se kapaio Hawaii Revised Statutes, a ōlelo ia e ho'o malu I nā pono Hawai'i ku'una, a me nā pono Hawai'i pa'amau. Ka ho'o malu ana a me ka ho'o pula ana I nā i'a, a me nā holo nā lohiu. ka mālama ana I ke kalai kaiaola a me ka nani o nā hi'ohi o nā aina. A me ka ho'omau a ho'okā'oi ana I nā wai o ka moku aina no ka hana o ke kulana kauhale. Na mea ho'onanea o ka lehulehu, ka wai no ka lehulehu, ka oi hana mahi ai, a me ka ho'okele ana. A oi ai I ka makuna ho'okahi haneli, kana hiku kumaha se o Hawaii Revised Statutes, ua ho'okumu ia ka papa kumikina wai, aia nā loea kokua I ka ike wai ma loko o uahui nei, I mea e ho'omau ai I ke kana wai wai. A oi ai ma Hawaii nei o ka wai oia no ka mea nui, no na mea ola a pau a me ke kahi wai wai noho kahu o ka lehulehu. No laila oia no ke kule ana o ka moku aina, e ho'omalu I ka wai no ka pono o nā kupa. A oi ai ua ho'okumu ia ka papa ho'olālā o Maui Island Water Use and Development Plan, e ka hui o Maui Department of Water Supply, a pono ia e ka hui o Board of Water Supply, ai ia e ka aha kalana, a pono ia e ka papa kumikina wai I mea e ho'olālā ai I ka ho'omalu ana, ka ho'oholo ana a me ka ho'ohana ana I nā wai ma Maui nei, no na mea ho'ohana a pau I ka wā o 'iwakalua mau makahiki. A oi ai, ho'okumu ka papa ho'olālā o Maui Island Water Use and Development Plan I nā kulekele he 5 malalo, no ka ho'okā'oi ana I ke olo na ka Hawaii, a me ka ho'okaulike ana I nā pono ke kaiaulu. Ho'omalu a ho'okā'oi I nā papaku ka Hawaii, a ho'ole I ka ho'ololi ana I nā ka Hawaii. Hana pū me nā hui kupono I mea e ho'okumu ai I ka palana iki o ke kahe wai, a mālama I ke kahe wai I mea e mālama ai I nā kaiaola, ka mahi kalo a me nā ahu pua'a. Aloha aku a imi pū I nā haina no nā pilikia e pili ana I nā pono aina a me nā pono wai o nā Hawaii. Oia ho'i ka aina kuleana, ka aina ho'oku'u ai like, a me nā pono o ka oi hana mahi ai a me ka ohi ana. Ho'opa'a I nā kana wai a me nā kulekele no ke kahe o nā ka Hawaii I ike ia I ke kumukana wai moku aina a me ke kana wai wai. A hana pū me nā hui kupono a me nā pā oi hana I mea e ho'okumu ai ka palana ike o ke kahe wai. Ho'opai pai I nā hana kāko'o kaia noho a me ka ho'ohana ana I nā lo'i a me ka mālama ana I ke kahe o nā ka Hawaii no ka ho'ohua ana I nā kalo. A oi ai, wahi a ka papa ho'olālā o County-Wide Policy Plan, ea ke kahi pahu hopu haiki. E ho'okā'oi I ka ho'oholo ana I nā ʻonai hana wai I mea e inu ole ai I ka wai ili a me ka wai honua. A oi ai ho'opaipai I ka papa ho'olālā o West Maui Community Plan, I ka ho'oulu ana I nā lo'i, ka emi ana I ka ho'oka'a wale wai ili, a me ka ho'okoi ana I ka wai no ka hana kinaiahi no nā hale ma nā ʻaina kuleana. A oi ai, e kahe mau ka wai ma ka lo'i I mea e hānai ai I nā mea kanu ma loko. A he ʻonai hana ho'olau pa'i, ho'onui ia ka wai ma ka papaku wai honua, a ho'ohana I ke kaiola ahu pua'a, e mahi I ka nui o nā mea kanu a me nā holoholona. A oi ai, luku ia nā ʻonai hana e ho'olupalupa I nā ahu pua'a I nā makahiki 18 kaukani a me 19 kaukani, ma muli o ka ho'oka'a wale ia ana o nā kalani he mau miliona I ala e nā luna mahi I mea e ho'oulu ai I kā lākou mau mea kanu. Me ka ho'one'e ana I nā Hawaii, a me ka ho'ololi ana I nā mea laulauna, nā mea ho'okele waiwai, a me nā hi'ohi'ona mo'omeheu o Maui nei. Oi ai I nā makahiki 19.8, a 19.8, wehe ka papa kumikina wai I nā loina kapa ia o Interim In-Stream Flow Standards, o IIFS, a ka ea ke kahi mau loina no ka mea ma'a mau. I ka hapanui o ka manawa oia no ka ho'oka'a wale ana I nā ka Hawaii. A oi ai I ka makahiki 2 kaukani, ua mau a e ka aha ho'okolokolo ki'eki'e o Hawaii I ke koho e pili ana I ka hihia o Waiahole Ditch Contested Case. A ua koho ka aha a ole kūpono IIFS no ka ho'omalu ana I nā ka Hawaii, a hahai ole o IIFS I ke kana wai. A ua koe ia ke komikina e noi'i I ke kahe o ke ka Hawaii, a ho'omohala I nā loina o IIFS I ka moku aina holo o ko'a. A oi ai ua hana o Marvin Kaleo Manuel I ke kulana hope mua no ka papa komikina wai. mai ka mahina o Ioanuali ma ka lā 28 I ka makahiki 29 a hiki kona ho'onoho hou ia ana e ke kia aina o Green lawa o Don Chang, ka luna noho o ka hui o Board of Land and Natural Resources I ka mahina o Aukake ma ka lā 16 I ka makahiki 29 A oiai ike ia ka wā o ka hope mua o Manuel I ke kulana hope mua no ka papa komikina vai, ua ike ia I ka mana'o o nā lala o ke kaiaulu, he nui loa ka huahua o keia wā no ke komikina. A oiai I ka mahina o Apelila I ka makahiki 29 me ke kokua o ka hope mua o Manuel ua ai ke komikina I ka ho'okumu ana I 5 mao IIFS no ka mokupuni o Molokai. Ua ho'i ka wai a ka wela hikina, ka o mana o ka wela hikina, o ka wela komohana o lua lohe a me ke kahawai o Waikolu. Ke kahawai I ho'o ka awale ia a ho'o malo'o ia no ke kahi kene kulia a oe aku. A oiai I ka mahina o Apelila I ka makahiki 29 Alaka'i ka papa komikina vai ia Launio Poko Irrigation Company, he hui pili ia West Maui Land Company, e ho'i ka vai I ke awawa o Kauaula, ma muli o Kala ko hahai ole ana ia IIFS, a ua ho'o pio lako I ka vai me ka ho'o laha ole I nā kanaka noho. A oiai ma hope o ke kahi mau ke keke o ke kā ko'o, mai ke kaiaulu a me ka mālama ole ana I ka wahi, a o he mea ho'o malu, ua hapai ka papa komikina vai I ko lako noi pono I. E ho'o kohu I ka papa komikina, papa ku vai honua o Lahaina I ke kahi wahi, kapa I o Surface Water and Groundwater Management Area, ma muli o ka ike pili I ho ili ia e ka hope mua o Manuel, a me nā 5 hana. Ua ai lo kahi ia ke ia I ka mahina o Iune I ka makahiki 29 A oiai ua ike ka hope mua o Manuel I ke ko'i o ka ho'okohu ana aku ia Lahaina I ka mahina o Keke Mapa I ka makahiki 29 ua ho emi nā hui pilikino I 6 miliona ka lani a oi I a la e mai ke kahi mahele o ka papa ku vai honua ma hono ko ai. O ka palena nui o ka ho emi ana I ka vai oia no 6 mau miliona I ka la ho'okahi. A oiai ua ai ia ko ho'ohana ana I ka vai I ka papa ku vai honua ma hono ko ai, ua ho'ohana ia kana 5 pakeneka a oi o ka palena nui, a kana 8 pakeneka o ka palena nui no ka papa ku vai honua ma Launio Poko. A oiai ua a pono ka aha kalana ia Reso 2 kana hiku 10 I mea e kako o ai I ka papa ku vai honua ma Lahaina. A ho'okohu ua papa ku vai honua nei I ke kahi mahele wahi kapa I o Surface Water and Groundwater Management Area. A oiai I ka mahina o Nove Mapa I ka makahiki 29 ua ho'ouku ka papa komikina vai ia Olowalu Water Company, he hui pili ia West Maui Land Company. E hahaneli kana hiku kaukani a me kana 5 mau kala no na hana ku'e I na loina kahewai no ke kahawai o Olowalu. A oiai I ka mahina o Nove Mapa I ka makahiki 29 ua ho'ololi ka papa komikina vai ia IIFS no 12 mau kahawai a me na au mana I ka wahi o Huelo ma Maui Hikina. Ua imi ia ke kahi ala e ho'ololi I na onai hana o East Maui Irrigation I mea e ho'omalu ai I na kahawai. A oiai ua ho'onoho hou ia ka hope mua o Manuel mai kona kulana hope mua no ka papa komikina vai I ka mahina o Aukake ma ka lā 16 I ka makahiki 29 me ke kumu ole. A oiai I ke kahi ho'olaha nuho I ka mahina o Aukake ma ka lā 16 I ka makahiki 29 ke kia aina o Green lawa o Don Chang, ka luna noho o ka hui o Board of Land and Natural Resources. Ōlelo ia, deployment does not suggest that First Deputy Manuel did anything wrong. I keia manawa no laila, ho'olo ia e ka aha kalana o Maui, ho'opaipai I ke kia aina a me ka hui o Board of Land and Natural Resources e ho'omau I ke kumukana vai o ka moku aina o Hawai'i nei, a me ke kana vai o ka moku aina, ma o ka ho'i koke ana ia Marvin Kaleo Manuel I ke kulana hope mua no ka papa komikina vai. Ho'olale I ke kia'aina e hahai I ka apono ana o ka aha kalana ia ōlelo ho'oholo, ʻiwakalua kumalua, kanahiku kumakolu, e kā ko'o I ka papaku waihonua o Lahaina, a ho'okohu ua mea nei I ka wahi o Surface Water and Groundwater Management Area. A ho'olaha I nā kope kuhelu o keia ōlelo ailike I ka mea hanohano o Josh Green, MD, ke kia'aina, moku'aina o Hawai'i, ka mea hanohano o Sylvia Luke, ke kia'aina Lucanella, moku'aina o Hawai'i, o Ronald Kouchi, Peleki Kena Aha Kenekoa, moku'aina o Hawai'i, o Don Chang, Luna Noho, Kahui o Board of Land and Natural Resources, moku'aina o Hawai'i, Nā lala o ka papa komikina wai, ka moku'aina o Hawai'i, a me ka mea hanohano o Richard T. Bisson Jr., Mea Kalana o Maui.
Okay.
I just want to mahalo Pa'i'iliwa, Ms. Fujihara. She was the one who translated it all in, well, she and Kako'o translated that in just a few days. It was super impressive, and I wanted her to be the one to read that so that our kupuna could hear your voice. So, but we can have it read in English too. But mahalo, Ms. Fujihara.
Madam Chair, reading the resolution in the English translation, Resolution 23-216, urging the governor to uphold the Constitution of the State of Hawaii and the State Water Code by immediately reinstating Marvin Kaleo Manuel as First Deputy for the Commission on Water Resource Management. Whereas the state has an obligation to protect, control, and regulate the use of Hawaii's water resources for the benefits of its people as mandated by the Hawaii State Constitution. And whereas under Article 9, Section 7 of the State Constitution, the legislature shall provide for a water resources agency which is provided by law, shall set overall water conservation, quality, and use policies, define beneficial and reasonable uses, protect ground and surface water resources, watersheds, and natural stream environments, establish criteria for water use priorities while assuring pertinent rights in existing correlative and riparian uses, and establish procedures for regulating all uses of Hawaii's water resources. And whereas in 1987, the Hawaii State Legislature enacted the State Water Code, Chapter 174C, Hawaii Revised Statutes, which states, adequate provision shall be made for the protection of traditional and customary Hawaiian rights, the protection and procreation of fish and wildlife, the maintenance of proper ecological balance and scenic beauty, and the preservation and enhancement of the waters of the state for municipal uses, public recreation, public water supply, agriculture, and navigation. And whereas Chapter 174C, Hawaii Revised Statutes, established the Commission on Water Resources Management, composed of volunteer experts in water management to oversee the implementation of the Water Code. And whereas in Hawaii, Wai is essential to all life and is a public trust, making the state responsible for protecting it to the benefit of all its citizens. And whereas the Maui Island Water Use and Development Plan was drafted by the Maui Department of Water Supply, recommended by the Board of Water Supply, approved by the Council, and adopted by the Commission on Water Resource Management to plan for the protection, management, and use of water resources on Maui by all water uses over a 20-year period. Whereas the Maui Island Water Use and Development Plan establishes the following 5 policies to enhance stream vitality while balancing community needs. Protect and enhance natural stream beds and discourage stream alteration. Work with appropriate agencies to establish minimum stream flow levels and ensure adequate stream flow to sustain riparian ecosystems, traditional kalo cultivation, and self-sustaining ahupua'a. Respect and participate in the resolution of Native Hawaiian residual land and water rights issues, including kuleana lands, ceded lands, and historic agricultural and gathering rights. Ensure that stream flows implement laws and policies found in the state constitution and water code. and work with appropriate agencies and stakeholders to establish minimum stream flow levels, promote actions to support riparian habitat and the use of available lo'i, and maintain adequate flows for the production of healthy kaleo crops. And whereas the countywide policy plan makes it an objective to improve the management of water systems so that surface water and groundwater resources are not degraded by overuse or pollution. And whereas the West Maui Community Plan encourages expanding lo'i restoration, decreasing surface water diversions, and ensuring water for fire protection of homes on Kuleana lands. And whereas lo'i requires continuously flowing water to sustain the crops growing within, and as a regenerative system maximizes aquifer recharge and creates an A'ahupua'a ecosystem that cultivates an abundance of native plants and animals. And whereas the systems that make it a thriving A'ahupua'a were destroyed in the late 1800s and early 1900s when plantation owners diverted tens of millions of gallons of water a day from streams to grow their crops, displacing native Hawaiians and changing Maui's social, economic, and cultural landscape. Whereas in 1988 and 1989, the Commission on Water Resource Management defined its administrative rules governing interim in-stream flow standards, known as IIFS, but these standards were for status quo conditions, which in most cases were diversions of all base stream flows. And whereas in 2000, the Hawaii Supreme Court overruled the commission on its judgment on the Waiopole Ditch contested case, and the court held that the current IIFS were not adequate to protect streams or comply with the law, and required the commission to take immediate steps to assess the stream flow characteristics and develop quantitative IIFS statewide. Whereas Marvin Kaleo Manuel served as the first deputy for the Commission on Water Resource Management from January 28, 2019, until Governor Green and Don Chang, chairperson of the Board of Land and Natural Resources, redeployed him on August 16, 2023. And whereas Deputy Manuel's time as the deputy for the Commission on Water Resource Management is seen by members of the community as one of the most productive times for the commission. And whereas in April 2022, with Deputy Manuel's assistance, the Commission approved the establishment of 5 IIFS for the island of Maui, returning water back to East Kawela Tributary, West Kawela, Lualohe, and Waikulu Stream, which has been almost fully diverted and often dry for more than a century. And whereas in April 2022, the Commission on Water Resource Management also directed Launiupoko Irrigation Company, Inc., a subsidiary of West Maui Land Company, Inc., to return water to the Ka'ulaula Valley after they failed to meet IIFS and turned off water without notice or explanation to residents. Whereas after decades of community advocacy and clear environmental degradation of the area, absent necessary protections, the Commission on Water Resource Management put forward its own proposal to designate the Lahaina Aquifer sector area as a surface water and groundwater management area based on data collected and analyzed by Deputy Manuel and staff and unanimously supported in June 2022. And whereas Deputy Manuel recognized the urgency of acting to designate Lahaina, as in December 2021, the Honokawai portion of the aquifer had private entities withdrawing 6.5 million gallons per day in excess of the sustainable yield of 6 million gallons per day, the maximum amount that can be withdrawn without risking permanent harm. And whereas authorized planned use of groundwater in the Honokawai aquifer exceeded the sustainable yield by 51%, and the Launiupoko aquifer would be at 89% of the sustainable yield. And whereas the Council adopted Resolution 22-73 to support the Lahaina Aquifer Sector Area designation as a surface water and groundwater management area. Whereas in November 2022, the State Commission on Water Resource Management fined Uluwatu Water Company, Inc., a subsidiary of West Maui Land Company, Inc., $470,050 for repeated violations of in-stream flow standards for Uluwatu Stream. Whereas in November 2022, the Commission on Water Resource Management amended IIFS for 12 streams and tributaries in the Hawaiian region of East Maui and explored how to modify the East Maui irrigation system for to better protect in-stream uses. And show on the right page here. whereas Deputy Manuel was redeployed from his role as first deputy for the Commission on Water Resource Management on August 16th, 2023 without cause. And whereas in a press release on August 16th, 2023, Governor Green and Don Chang, chairperson of the Board of Land and Natural Resources, stated that his deployment does not suggest that First Deputy Manuel did anything wrong. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Council of the County of Maui that it urges the governor to uphold the Constitution of the State of Hawaii and the State Water Code by immediately reinstating Marvin Kaleo Manuel as First Deputy for the Commission on Water Resource Management. That it urges the governor and the Commission on Water Resource Management to honor the Council's adoption of the Resolution 22-73, which supported the Lahaina Aquifer sector as a surface water and groundwater management area. And that certified copies of this resolution be transmitted to the Honorable Josh Green, MD, Governor, State of Hawaii, the Honorable Sylvia Luke, Lieutenant Governor, State of Hawaii, the Honorable Ronald Puuchi, Senate President, State of Hawaii, the Honorable Scott Saiki, Speaker of the House, State of Hawaii, Don Chang, Chairperson, Board of Land and Natural Resources, State of Hawaii, the members of the Commission on Water Resource Management, State of Hawaii, and the Honorable Richard T. Bisson, Jr., Mayor, County of Maui.
Any further discussion? You discussed it already, but okay. You see, twice. Okay, let's go with you before, I don't want any
Mahalo,
debates. Member Rawlins-Fernandez.
No, I didn't discuss this yet. I just introduced Nālani and invited her to read the resolution. I know it was a very long resolution, and it was read twice in its entirety in Ōlelo Hawai'i and then in English. I never spoke to it yet though. So I spoke to the last one.
Okay,
But
go ahead.
mahalo, Chair. I can't stop crying. We've just had so much taken away from our people that sometimes you forget how numb you have to force yourself to be just to function. And then when something is returned, all the emotions come flooding back. So mahalo, Nālani. I ko leona, e ho'omalu e ho'oio, a e mālama, I ka ho'ohana ana I ka nawai, o Hawaii nei, no ka pono, o ko lākou mau Kānaka. In Water and Power in West Maui, intentionally entitled that to echo Land and Power, written in 1995. It says, the plantation has persecuted these Hawaiians by having them arrested and forcibly taken their water, and because one or two have been instrumental in getting their rights, it has determined to crush the whole settlement in Ka'aula Valley. As leaders, we represent the people. We are responsible to holding other leaders accountable to the people too. Today, one of the testifiers asked, "Who is your boss?" My boss is the ku'a aina of the people of this place. Who is the boss of the governor? A question posed and left unanswered by words, but we are left with only actions that demonstrate who the governor is accountable to. An article entitled "State-Aided Disaster Capitalism" that appeared in Kawaiʻola a few days ago helps to piece together more clues to answer the question of who is the governor's boss. For over a century, the plantation Luna have battled for control over water, systematically separating people from Aina, systematically separating the people from Vai, despite laws being written to protect this connection.
The community is working hard to stop land grabs from offshore profiteers and speculators. But working to stop land grabs from state-aided efforts is far more hurtful. History repeating itself. West Maui Land Company and its affiliates have a long history of diverting streams for luxurious fake farms at the expense of Maui Komohana Kānaka farmers, kuleana owners, and watersheds. During testimony, we heard testimony after testimony describing the food forests of Malu'ulu that there seems to not be enough water, but there used to be, and there can be again, if water wasn't consistently being extracted without equal or more effort of water being returned. I asked the testifier last Wednesday if it's that it's not enough water, or rather, is it a matter of how water is used? Golf courses, resort pools, water features, landscaping, laundry, corporations stockpile water to sell luxury estates. Many community members like myself suspected the governor's removal of Mr. Manuel and the subsequent suspension of the Lahaina surface water and groundwater management designation as the opportunistic removal of obstacles to the continued misuse of water by West Maui Land Company and other large-scale consumers in the area. As Mr. Tanaka's article in the Kauai Ola outlines, West Maui Land Company's claims were disproven. Water diverted by the company could not be used in any way to fight the Lahaina fires. These suspicions only grew. Then the following week, a smoking gun would demonstrate clear government collusion with a corporate water diverter seeking to exploit the tragedy. On August 23rd, the Hawaii Supreme Court heard oral arguments over the State Attorney General's petition for a writ of mandamus against Environmental Court Judge Jeffrey Crabtree. The petition sought to overturn Crabtree's modest cap on the amount of East Maui stream water that could be diverted by real estate investment trust Alexander and Baldwin. Filed on August 9th, the petition declared that Maui is in peril as it is ravaged by wildfires and claimed in several instances that the 31.5 million gallon per day cap on Maui Hikina stream diversions left the island with not enough water to battle the wildfires. His claim quickly fell apart. The representative from our county Corp Council confirmed that there, in fact, had been sufficient water to combat upcountry fires under Crabtree's order, and that the Maui Fire Department had not made any request for additional water. Moreover, over the course of 5 days, the Maui Fire Department had only used 37,000 gallons of reservoir water for firefighting. Orders of magnitude far less than the millions of gallons of Maui Hikina water that had been available every day for firefighting. Dozens rallied the day after Manuel's deployment, expressing their gratitude for his work with hula and lei. The next day, a group of prominent families of Lahaina, Na'ohana Ōlelo came together to demand that Green give impacted families time to process and grieve and center the Lahaina community in any and all conversations about rebuilding and redevelopment. In their testimony, the Office of Hawaiian Affairs writes, OHA is deeply concerned with and cautions against enabling the weaponization of threats from wealthy abusers against good state and county actors, a practice that has resulted in the usurpation and destruction of public trust resources, and Native Hawaiian way of life by private interests. Mr. Manuel upheld the state's trust obligation to Native Hawaiians and the general public by ensuring that water, a public trust resource, was not being diverted away from Native Hawaiian Mai'aikalo, engaged in the exercise of unconstitutionality, protected traditional and customary practices by West Maui Land Company, a real estate developer, whose subsidiary, Olowalu Water Company, was fined $470,050 for repeated violations of the interim in-stream flow standards of Olowalu Stream. Ho'i koke ana, Kaleo Manuel, i ke kulana hope mua no ka papa komikina vai. Ho'i kanani I moku ula. Mahalo, Chair.
Any other Mr. Sinanci?
Mahalo, Chair. Excuse me. I had the opportunity to work with Mr. Manuel last year during the Water Use Development Plan proceedings. And I know from working with him that Mr. Manuel truly understands the public trust doctrine and the state water code and the huge responsibility to uphold them. As this resolution states, Mr. Manuel has worked hard to enforce the interim in-stream flow standards and the groundwater sustainable yields as set by the Commission. Unfortunately, this has put a target on him because developers want as much water as they can get. Developer needs are in direct opposition to the public trust when they demand more water than is allocated to them. Chair, we need government officials to uphold the state constitution. And unfortunately, Mr. Manuel has been blamed for doing his job, simply doing his job. And we need to support government officials that do their jobs, Chair. The BLNR is sending a dangerous message to all government workers that if you protect the public trust over private interests, then you too are at risk of losing your job. So I just wanted to mahalo Member Rawlins-Fernandez for bringing this forth and speak in support of the resolution, Chair. Thank you.
Paulton?
Thank you, Chair. All of us sitting here got elected November 8th, 2022. On November 8th, 2022, there was a fire in West Maui. My kids were in West Maui, so my husband and I hurried back, afraid that they would close the road. And, the fire kept burning for a few days, and it was kind of uncertain which way the winds would go. And when you make a choice of where the water will go, it could be the choice of who's going to live and who's not going to live. In that case, I worked with Mr. Manuel and Chief Ventura because they were able to fly the helicopters. And so we spoke with the Kuleana landowners who would not have water to fight the fire if the wind blew in their direction. And they said, they need the water to fight the fire, but they also don't want the whole town to burn down. And so Mr. Manuel diverted the water, and it filled the reservoir, and the helicopters dipped in the reservoir and poured it on the fire. There's no way that scenario could have happened on August 8th because the fire department doesn't fly the helicopter at night, and it doesn't fly it in that strong of winds. So the news stories and all the people on the continent do not know what they're talking about. And I don't think that anybody should be forced to choose who gets water to save their life. If this is the future that we're dealing with, then we need to lobby the FAA to say the helicopter can dip from the ocean, or we need to have the police shut the road so that they can dip from the ocean. Because this is unsustainable. And as Laniapoko and these areas were being built, taking 100% of the waters from the streams, they were told that that's not right, that's not legal as to the Constitution. But because it had never been enforced and the IIFS standards had never been created since the Constitution, they felt privileged and entitled to do it. And that leaves us in the situation that we're in now, where somebody has to choose who gets water that will determine whether their house will survive, whether their families will survive. And that's unsustainable going forward. If there's laws to be broken, I would break the law and dip the helicopter bucket in the ocean and put that water on the fire. Mr. Manuel, you know, to me, he could do any job and he could excel at it. And we recently seen Governor Green and family on the television talking about their death threats. Nobody should be getting death threats. But before Governor Green got death threats, Kaleo Manuel got death threats. And if we're not for death threats, then we're not for death threats to anybody. It's not right, especially when the highest elected official in our state fans the flames that allows death threats. I support the reinstatement of Kaleo Manuel, and thank you for this resolution.
Any more comments? Ready for the vote? Okay. I'll be voting no on this. I believe that the governor has a right to decide on his own departmental staff and organization. Roll call.
Pro Tempore Tasha Kama,
Yes.
Vice Chair Sugimura,
Excused.
Councilmember Paulton,
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember Rawlins-Fernandez,
Aye.
Councilmember Cook,
Aye.
Councilmember Ō'ahu,
Yes.
Councilmember Senensi,
Aye.
Council Chair Lee.
No. Oh,
Chair?
are you want to vote? Ms. Clerk.
Vice Chair Sugimura,
Sorry about that. Thank you, because I had a call.
You have to vote.
No. I took the call. So on this, it's really hard. I'm going to vote no because I believe that there are circumstances that are beyond what we know. and
Chair,
it's
we're
between
voting.
The governor.
Sorry, point of order.
Oh,
Yeah, we're voting.
Yeah,
Call
we're
discussion
at the
already.
voting.
discussion already. Oh, sorry.
So your vote is no.
No, yeah.
Okay.
Chair, there are 7 ayes, 2 noes, motion passes.
All right.